Aloha and welcome to the Conditions That Affect Species Survival video. In this video, we'll talk a little bit about mass extinctions. We'll also talk about the process of speciation in new areas, and then we'll end up with a short discussion on genetic health of a species. So as we've been talking about, speciation occurs when there is a shift in the environment primarily. So when something happens to the environment, then we get new pressures, and those new pressures are going to choose different traits, and that's what's going to cause this speciation to occur. Now, one of the things we notice is throughout history, geologic history that is, we've had what we call mass extinctions, and that's where we have a lot of species go extinct all at the same time. Perhaps the most common one that we know about was this one here that happened at the end of the Cretaceous period, and that's where we lost about half of the species, maybe a little bit more than that. And that was when we had our impact of our meteorite that came down. It triggered some severe volcanism. It kicked up a lot of ash. The plants died, and that caused the animals to die. But this here was the death of the dinosaurs. So we took out an entire category of animal, not a species, but an entire category. All the dinosaurs went extinct, and that allowed the mammals to fill the niches and birds to fill the niches and things of that nature, so that we saw this great explosion of speciation because there is new areas to exploit for those different organisms. But what I wanted to show you in this slide is you can see that we've had these mass extinctions periodically throughout geologic history. So it's not something that's brand new, it's something that happens. And that's kind of why we allowed ourselves to think that this idea of coordinated stasis might exist, because when we have these worldwide mass extinctions, it opens it up for a lot of evolution to happen. Okay, another thing they talk about is speciation in new areas, and there's two different ideas that they touch on. The first is coadaptation, and coadaptation is when you have two species that are working towards a common goal, benefiting each other, and as such, when one evolves, it causes the other one to evolve as well. So we see two species that are evolving at the same rate over the same time, and they're maintaining that relationship. Another one is this instantaneous speciation, and that's primarily in plants. And what that'll happen is when you have plants that you have that mutation or something changes and instantly you have a new species. They're no longer able to cross-pollinate, or they won't cross-pollinate. So instantaneous speciation generally happens more in plants, where you can see this separation and this speciation happening quicker. Okay, the last topic that we want to talk about is genetic health. And genetic health tells us how healthy a population is, because remember, we're talking about a population and evolution affecting the gene pool, or the total genome of that species. So we have some real simple things. If there's over 500 individuals, generally we consider that to be a healthy population. There's enough variation in the breeding and things like that, that you're creating a variation and a deep gene pool so it can survive. When you get under 100 organisms, it gets to be a little bit worrisome. When you have a small population like that, we start to see some harmful genes occur in greater frequencies. They're always there, but they just show up a little bit more. They're a little more prevalent. And then when we get down to small numbers like 50 or so, then it's kind of, you get to a point where you can't come back, and that's where extinction happens. So the genetic health kind of tells us the number of animals. And this is why we have endangered species and we have threatened species and things of that nature, is it kind of shows us how healthy that species is in reference to its genetic. So if it's near threatened or threatened, it's going to be like worrisome. When they become endangered or critically endangered, that's when we're talking about only a few of those left, and there's not a big enough population for it to bounce back if anything were to happen. Okay, so that's it for our video. As always, good luck in the lessons, and we'll see you in the next video.